Good morning and welcome to the Gruber Morning Show. I am Mark Schaffner.
And I'm Victor Vianis.
Victor is standing in for Pete while Pete is vacationing in Germany and in Austria.
Hi, guys.
So, in fact, the picture that we've got in the background today is from the Tesla takeover in Flachau, Austria. This is one of the things that they posted to the TikTok feed, and it was about a 5 minute musical with light show, and
Hmm.
they did this to finish up the show.
Nice. How exciting.
Oh, you gotta watch it. It was pretty spectacular.
Everyone likes lights.
Oh yeah, and the seeing 200 and it's somewhere between 250 and 300 cars with synchronized lights.
Wow.
That's something else to watch. It's a good 5 minute watch. Find it on TikTok on the Gruber Motors channel, and you'll really enjoy it. We'll start off with a couple of
Oh,
questions that we have already, or comments really. Good. Sammy Kamal is already here with us.
hey, Sammy.
Together as one Lucid, he says. Lucid family, adding on, holding strong. Goonies never say die. Love you guys. Keep putting out the great content. We appreciate you very much. Thank you so much, Sammy. I appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
And then Nolver53 is back. It says good morning, and good morning,
Good
Nolver.
morning to you.
So Tesla takeover.
Here's
We
the show.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Look at that. And it says, I love, I heart, I love you.
I believe it was mainly just cars arranged in the heart style
Okay.
with two columns of cars on the other side.
Oh, I see.
Because we love the Tesla community. This Tesla takeover that occurred in Flachau, Austria, this last weekend had over 1,000 people, over 500 Tesla vehicles, and I kind of did a rough count on that. There were
Hmm.
between 250 and 300 vehicles there. I think there may have been even more outside of that picture that made the cut, as it were. Of all of those vehicles, there were two roadsters.
Two roadsters.
Just two
Wow.
roadsters. Pete met the owners of both of them and got to drive one of the roadsters. One was a
Red.
factory prototype.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool. I really liked what Pete had to say in one of the TikTok videos he put out there. He's standing here in Austria,
Hmm.
the picture of the mountains and the Alps in the background, and Max zooms into one of the mountains, still snow covered, and he says, "Yeah, this stream that we're standing next to, and it was a decent size stream. I'd call it a large creek or a small
Hmm.
river." He said, "This stream is it comes right from the snow in those mountains. The water is amazing. It's completely pure. Um, that people will bottle this water up and sell it to you guys in the U.S." And he said the reason that Tesla chose this spot
Hmm.
is because the takeover helps to demonstrate what a clean environment looks like.
Mm.
The Teslas are completely clean vehicles. This is the type of environment we'd like to see.
No, the pictures are amazing. Beautiful.
Oh, they sure
Lots of
were.
greenery.
Yeah, they sure were. And so and Pete said they were surprised too. As they were driving from Germany to Austria, like one out of every 10 cars or so was some sort of electric vehicle. 2 years ago, they only saw two or three Teslas during the whole trip that they had, and they were there for 2 weeks. So that was it was very cool. And glad that we got the pictures. Glad that we got to see that.
It's a little bit colder there, no? Yeah, I saw Pete out
Yeah.
with his sweater and jacket
Yes.
And beanie.
and beanie. Yeah.
My impression, of course, was I was thinking, dude, man, you are so telling the world that you're in Arizona now. So a very nice time out there. Roger Starkey has on YouTube joined us and says Elon has never been more focused.
Okay.
I wanted to read that one before we get into our next topic because the next topic was, is Tesla distracted?
I figured you were gonna really lead into that.
Yesterday, Peter Rawlinson, the CEO of Lucid, had an interview with the BBC program Wake Up to
Mm-hmm.
Money. And he made some claims on that program that are making the press.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were kind of interesting claims. He criticized Tesla. He said that Tesla is distracted. He says they're losing their way.
Hmm.
And he went on to say it really is going to fall to Lucid to take this technology to a whole new level.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. His statements um, come down to the idea that Elon. He says Elon's just stretched too thin. He can't focus on what's important here with EVs. He's got a social media company and a rocket company and a tunnel company
Mm-hmm.
and they've got all this battery storage and they've got the AI and the robots and what are they? They're scattered. They're on ADD.
Or is there a bigger picture that we're unaware of?
Well, that's part of the debate here, I think. I don't know. My thought is Peter Rawlinson kind of has a point about focus in a business.
Mm-hmm.
You, I, my impression or my feeling is that the businesses that are most successful are the ones that have a really clear vision and mission and purpose they're trying to strive for. And to that point, okay, Tesla has five visions or five missions or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, because you've got the Boring Company that's spun off and Elon spends some time there. SpaceX, which is spun off and Elon spends some time there. And they've got the AI that's in Tesla and they've got and they've got all the stationary battery generation and that's becoming a big part of their business. So I don't know. What do you think?
They also have, aren't they building small homes as well?
Oh, true. They have solar and
Mm,
some,
yeah.
yeah,
I don't know.
and
Maybe
some
I think maybe there's a larger picture that we're not seeing. Maybe I don't know. He's pretty determined on taking us um uh out of this planet. He wants to what did he say? He wanted us to make human multiplanetary.
yes,
So
he has talked about that.
maybe he's using and refining all the tools that he needs to be able to make that a reality.
You reminded me of one of the things that Elon said during his last large investor meeting, where he talked about Tesla's, their kind of their grand master plan. They had version 3 of that master plan come out,
Mm-hmm.
and they talked about how they're really trying to look to do whatever it takes to save the world, to make the
Right.
world greener and more environmentally friendly. And he refuses to call uh, making automobiles the only way that you can make the planet more green and friendly.
Right.
So I could see the points either way. Um, a couple more things here. Wayne Levitt on YouTube has joined us. You want to read through that one?
Scattered, Elon is so smart he only needs few minutes to make decisions on like any company.
Yeah, and that's Super Booty on TikTok. He also said that Elon's the chief engineer of SpaceX. You need to let that sink in. Well, okay. So Elon is a rocket scientist, is what that says.
He wears multiple hats.
Boy, he does. He does. And it's Wayne Levitt on YouTube also said, "Hi, hey guys, thank you for the show." Of course, and thank you guys, everybody, for the comments. Please keep them coming. We'll try to keep on top of them. Another thing I wanted to mention, I know we're already into things here.
Mm-hmm.
This show is going to be a little more abbreviated than we usually do. Usually we run that 45 to 55 minutes. Top of the hour, we transition to roadsters. Trying to keep our topics a little more focused this time over the next several weeks. This is not just with Pete being gone. This was kind of decided ahead of time.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So,
Short and
so
sweet.
is Tesla distracted? Is Lucid not distracted? How much of that do you think is just posturing?
I think Lucid is trying to make a stance, and yeah, I have some Lucid shares, so I'm rooting for them.
Well, I do, and I am. So yes, that's definitely true. There was a piece of that article that had come up just yesterday that I thought was really interesting and wanted to go further into. Um, Apparently, so we know Hyundai Motors,
Hmm.
South Korean. They have their premium brand that they spun off a couple years ago. It was called the Hyundai Genesis for a while. Now it's just Genesis. And the Genesis is going to put together an all electric, battery electric sports utility vehicle.
Hmm.
Um, and it's going to be called the GV90. It's due out sometime around the end of 2025. Lucid and Hyundai are set to announce a partnership for
Interesting.
this. Apparently, Lucid's going to provide the electric motors for it. They're going to provide a lot of the drivetrain technology.
Okay.
So that was kind of just slid into this one article. I'm thinking, wow, okay, this is kind of cool. These two companies are in the
Hmm.
final stages of negotiations, so it's not a done deal yet. But they're just kind of working out the details of things like how much of the motor is going to cost, what all models will Hyundai use this in. Will it be just the GV90 or will it be other models,
Hmm.
electric models? And once the final details are settled, which is supposed to be imminent, both companies are expected to announce the partnership.
That's good to hear. I hope it works out for them. I know in the past, Tesla was selling some of their components to Mercedes, to Toyota, the Toyota
Hmm.
RAV4, and some of their clients have reached out to us in the past saying, "Hey, I know my vehicle has Tesla components, and when I take it to the dealership, they redirect me to Tesla, and Tesla redirects me back to Toyota. How can you help?" So um,
Dang.
I hope it works out for them, and I hope that they have the support that is needed. And
I really do too. Lucid, they seem to be moving toward being a supplier of electric technology to other automakers. They have a
Mhm.
deal with Aston Martin, for example,
Okay.
that they signed last year. It's going to be worth $350 million over the course of about 5 years.
Hmm.
If they get this technology deal with Hyundai, now you're going to be fine. That's a little different level than an Aston Martin. Hyundai is
Right.
one of the big makers in the automotive world, and I think that's going to do cool things for Lucid stock. Should it get announced and should it be successful?
I'm all for it.
I'm definitely all for it, and it further strengthens the idea of Peter Rawlinson saying, "Hey, Lucid is going to be the electric
Hmm.
vehicle technology leader in the industry." Yeah, if they're selling their parts to some of the other top makers in the industry.
Absolutely.
The story goes, by the way, that the guys at Hyundai saw the Lucid, were so impressed with both the technology, how advanced it was, and how good a quality it was,
Hmm.
that they invited Lucid people over to South Korea, brought in a Lucid Air, took time to talk together, continued to be impressed with what they saw, and that from there they made the framework of the deal.
Good.
So that'd be pretty cool.
It's really good.
Nulver53 on YouTube. Comment for us. He says, I understand why the Cybertruck cannot be painted like a traditional automobile. Then he asks, what about a color coding process similar to what many firearms have that are made from stainless steel?
That's a good idea. Might add some unwanted weight.
It might. I think that's Nulver. I think that's actually a really cool idea. In looking up for stuff for this show today,
Hmm.
if you look online, you might find a highly polished stainless steel
Mm,
Cybertruck.
saw that.
That was cool.
Until
Yeah.
you're behind it and you're blinded by the
Yeah.
reflection.
Why not
Yes.
just wrap it to the color that you want? I mean, it feels like the wraps nowadays are coming down in prices. You can get almost anything done with it.
Right.
I would think cost wise, it would just be easier and cheaper just to do a wrap.
Is he talking about powder coating when he's talking about the stainless steel stuff?
It might be.
Because
Um,
that can be kind of pricey as well. Powder coating stuff.
good question, Cass. I'm not sure the answer for that one.
Yeah, powder coating would most likely add weight and be more expensive. Vinyl is as was mentioned, you can have multiple colors that can be removed and reapplied easily, where any type of coating or powder coating would have to strip the metal down.
I would think that a PPF coating would actually be easier on a Cybertruck than on most other vehicles because
Nice
it's
flat panels.
because it's all flat and angles and yes.
Yeah.
We did when we had that light blue Cybertruck in. Did we
Mhm.
ask about that with the guy that had that because he had his wrapped?
No, well, I don't think we asked.
Yeah, he said it was lagoon blue, and he said they did it pretty quick. But yeah, that was Dr. J. Larson.
Thank you, Jesse.
Yeah,
I didn't remember who that was. It's a cool look, and I've seen a few other wrapped ones.
Mhm.
In fact, I see more wrapped Cybertrucks here in Arizona than I have seen of the straight stainless.
Now will Tesla put out more models in a stainless steel look and not have to worry about paint or the paint process moving forward?
Good question.
Give the customer the ability to customize if needed.
Good question. I don't know. I don't know. That's
I think they have switched over now on the Model 3 and the Model Y to that kind of gunmetal stealth silver, I think they call it, is their now default color.
Oh wow.
yeah. Well, and Nulver 53 is chiming in as well. It says it's like a ceramic coating. Not sure what the exact term is. Maybe it's like a Cerakote, maybe.
Okay.
So that's thank you, Nulver. So it's intriguing. It's an intriguing idea. Any kind of ceramic coating or extra coating. Now, ceramic coating could be a wipe-on coating that would last for a couple years. You have got the clear ceramic that you can put on a paint job, and it's supposed to help harden the paint. I don't know if that would work on something that's untreated like the stainless steel is, though. It works on firearms that are steel, so I can't think that it wouldn't.
Also, the process, because are these panels attached to plastic pieces, or are they?
Yeah, I don't know.
You'd have to remove the panels to properly get painted.
So, Exploration says on YouTube, he says, the wraps are just garbage. They only last a few years.
For now, it's gotten a lot better though, as
Yeah,
far as
definitely.
like the technology that they use for wraps. And I only know this because I wanted to wrap my bike, and I was looking into it and how to do it, and like which ones are good and
Yeah.
which ones are not good.
Is that different than PPF? A wrap?
PPF is paint protection film,
Yeah.
so PPF is slightly thicker than vinyl.
I see, okay.
PPF is usually in a clear or
It lasts a
something
little longer
translucent.
too, probably, I would imagine.
I looked at having one of my cars wrapped. We got that new Volvo about a year and a half ago now. And when I saw the price and how long it lasts, I almost immediately said, nope, not for me. Why would I pay $4,500 to get my car wrapped for something that if I don't take it off in 7 or 8 years and spend another $4,500 to get it redone, I'm going to really mess up the underlying paint job. I think I'd rather put some sort of a ceramic coating on top of it, spend $100 for a good ceramic coat, and the paint will look like new for years
to come,
anyway.
yeah.
And then
Absolutely.
it's just a couple $100 to reapply in like every 2 years.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's just we have a lot of heat here, so it doesn't really work out for us in our area.
Definitely. We have a couple comments if you wanted to scroll the screen down a little bit. I don't other down. Harbor Area Tech asked on YouTube, what happened to the shop videos? I don't think our videos have gone anywhere.
Well, I think they're still rolling.
Yeah, we haven't removed any videos, so let us know which videos you're looking for.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're asking for more shop videos.
Yeah, we haven't shot in the shop in a while. Maybe that's what
Yeah.
you're referring to.
Well, I do know that I pulled a lot of reels from when you guys went to the EV show. And so I think there's like 2 or 3. And then also he's been at Tesla Takeover. So it shows that he's out of the shop the last probably 9 days on Instagram. So
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
that's what he's referring to.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That could
Okay.
be it too.
So we'll be getting back into the shop videos. Super Booty on TikTok says that Elon saw what's happening with Twitter and he saved it from going left. Freedom of speech saved.
I was going to say that.
Can't really argue that very much.
He spends a lot of time on Twitter, but I don't think you can say Elon spending time on Twitter means that Tesla is distracted necessarily. I think that's more of an Elon kind of a thing.
I agree with you, Jesse. Definitely agree with you. Wayne Levitt also comments on YouTube. I bought some Lucid shares with my change from getting a coffee one day when I was acting silly with my friend.
Ouch.
That's in big with Lucid. He says, sorry, guys, but Peter winds me up talking trash cars a bit. That's good. That's good, Wayne. So the main thing I wanted to get into this morning has to do with the EV charging infrastructure. We touch on this. We touch on this regularly, actually.
Okay.
It's always a piece of whatever conversation we're having. Over the last day, both Electrek and Inside EVs reported on the new charging numbers. As of the beginning of 2024, there are about 180,000 publicly available charge plugs in the United States. So people talk all the time about the slow development of the EV charging infrastructure. And I thought, okay, so we got this article that just dropped. The Department of Energy is talking about 180,000 plugs. What does that mean, really? Is it really true that we have no EV charging infrastructure? Is 180,000 a lot? Is it a very small amount?
Right.
I don't know. So here's what I did a little bit of a deep dive into this. The last time that gasoline or diesel fuel pumps were measured or counted, it's more of gas stations than it is individual pumps. There were an estimated 150,000 fuel stations operating in the United States. There are about 12 pumps per station. That equals about 1.8 million fuel pumps.
Okay.
Okay, so that's roughly 10 times what has been reported for EV infrastructure. However, that equates to roughly 1 pump for every 153 automobiles on the road today.
Okay.
Okay. Now, there are about 3.3 million EVs on the road today.
Wow.
Yeah, I was kind of impressed. Just 2 years ago, that number was 1.7 million. So as of the beginning of 24. And also, as of January 2024 now, we know that there are actually 183,000 publicly available charging ports. Now, that's about 1 port for every 18 cars. So not 1 for every 153, 1 for every 18. That right there tells me that we might not have the infrastructure problems that we thought we had. The largest number of public charging ports are the level 2 or destination ports. They run at 240 volts. They run anywhere from 6 to as many as 19 kilowatts an hour of charge. Typically, this is the one where you're going to go, you're going to plug your car in, and you're going to plan on your car being there for a few hours. Maybe as much as 10 hours.
Right.
Now, this is going to equate to, somewhere about 1 port for every 23 or 24 EVs, because there's 140,000 of these level 2 charge ports. And then the other 43,000 are DC fast charging ports. We call these supercharging ports or just fast charge ports. Tesla calls them superchargers. Everybody else just says DC fast charging. That's about 1 port for every 77 EVs. The supercharger name is anonymous in the industry, but I think people are afraid to call their chargers superchargers because they don't want to pick off Tesla.
Yeah.
These ports provide somewhere between 75 and 350 kilowatts of power per hour.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that you can typically charge up your EV in anywhere from 20 minutes to about an hour, depending on the size of the battery and how
Mm-hmm.
quickly it charges. More importantly than this, though, roughly 86% of EV owners have a home charger.
Mm. Right. So as we continue to grow and expand, we don't need a gas to go to stop at the gas station. We have our own personal gas station at home.
Exactly. So you say 3.3 million EVs on the road. Well, 86% that's almost 90%. So that's like 2.9 million charging stations just at people's homes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, and in fact, if you run the numbers backwards a little bit, because roughly 80% of all electric vehicle charging does take place at home. So if you run those numbers back, you're like, okay, well, if only 20% of charges that can be done are done publicly, then only 1 out of every 5 charges is done publicly. So if you divide by
Mm-hmm.
5 all these numbers that I was just throwing at you, that means that you really have 1 level 2 port for every 4.5 cars, 1 fast charging port for every 19 cars.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, that's not an infrastructure problem.
Well, I see DC fast chargers, superchargers, Tesla superchargers being opened up everywhere I go. I was at Walmart the other day. They had a supercharger outside. I was able to supercharge.
Yeah.
Which is kind of nice because I have to limit my time inside of Walmart and have to be back because of idle fees.
It's the same at Best Buy. They have an EV Go fast
Mhm.
charger right outside of Best Buy now.
I went to the grocery store. They had a charging system. So it's becoming more available.
Well, and you make a good point there. It's because there are not the environmental concerns. You know, with a gasoline or a fuel station, you have to have this the large storage tanks are it's quite the environmental process for those large storage tanks to be put in.
Mhm.
And when the gas station ends up being taken down, that gas station has a significant environmental remediation. None of that happens. You can put charge ports in parking garages and grocery store lots and hotels and so on. It's super, super convenient.
And easily able to relocate.
Yeah.
Because I've seen some superchargers here in the valley that have gone up and closed down and relocated to a better, more needed area.
I've seen that as well. I've also seen a supercharger. Just recently saw a supercharger over in Gilbert, near where my son and his wife live. They were taking it down, but they weren't. I thought, and sure enough, it's back. They upgraded the level of chargers. They only had the first gen superchargers. Now they've got the third gen superchargers over there. Very cool. And it didn't take nearly as long to do that as it would have taken to retrofit some sort of fuel station. In fact, speaking of fuel stations, I wanted to get to that too. In 2022, British Petroleum, BP, they told Reuters that fast electric vehicle chargers are on the cusp of becoming more profitable for service station owners than gasoline or diesel. The reason is that gasoline or diesel ends up with a net profit of somewhere between 3 and 7 cents a gallon. These fuel stations actually can't survive just on fuel sales. That it doesn't matter if the price is up or down on the fuel. So $4 a gallon gas is the same as $1.80 a gallon gas when it comes to the gas station. They're making between 3 and 7 cents.
Okay.
And yet their costs are going up, their labor costs, their rents, so on and so forth. So what's in the store is what makes them the money, not what's out on the gas pump. What that means is that if you take 3 minutes to fill up the top half of your tank in your car and then you leave, you're not going to go into the store.
Right.
if you can get a DC fast charger to charge your EV in between 10 and 15 minutes, what are you going to do for that 10 or 15 minutes?
Exactly.
You're going to go into the store. The major petroleum sellers also have tracked the foot traffic in their stores, and the time that foot traffic stays in the store, it's typically between 10 and 15 minutes. Time for somebody to go, grab a snack, go to the bathroom, get a drink, check out. So they're marrying up the charge times with the amount of time that somebody might be in store, and trying to leverage that time to give people more options to do shopping and, of course, spend more money.
Right. Yeah. When we travel to California, we stop, supercharge, and look for the nearest restaurant store to kill some time. So now the question is Tesla going to get further distracted and then put up some type of convenience store lounges in these charging stations?
Cigar lounge.
Cigar lounge, Millie Way's restaurant. I think they're definitely testing out the concept. We've talked about it in California. So that'll be interesting to see. What I do know as well, though, the largest 4 petroleum makers, which is British Petroleum, Shell, Exxon, and Chevron, all of them have been investing in green energy for a number of decades. All of them are either looking at or are already actively putting EV charging stations and doing conversions.
Good.
In fact, Shell here in the United States has implemented its Shell Recharge program. Every Shell station is going to have at least one DC fast charger. All new Shell stations that are being built have multiple DC fast chargers. And right now, globally, they already have 55,000 charge ports installed, with the goal to have a network of 200,000 charge ports at Shell stations by 2030.
Smart.
It's where they're going, and what they're thinking is, of course, okay, you have 3.3 million EVs now. In another 5 years, you might have 33 million EVs, and that means there are going to be fewer gasoline-powered cars on the road, which means all of these stations that are struggling are going to be struggling even more.
Right.
So this is absolutely is happening already. So the infrastructure growth is really it's still critical. When we have 10 times the number of EVs, what we have for infrastructure today isn't going to be enough. But I would contend that the infrastructure today is enough for what we have today, and the infrastructure is growing,
changing
at a rate that's going to be able to help support the needs of the EV industry in the future. You've got novel things too, like Tesla putting some of their gigapacks in with some of their superchargers so that they can capture solar, put it into the large battery systems, and then have people charge mainly off of solar. That's happening at one of the largest chargers in California. So we have a few more comments, and then then I think we'll wrap things up. Tesla Psalm 3 said, "This was amazing. The Tesla light show in Austria was just amazing." I agree. I saw most of that light show video, and that was just pretty incredible.
My question is, how do they get it to work? Is it an app? Is it a software download? Is it an OBD2? So I'm interested in how they make that work.
I don't know. That's a great question. We'll have to find that out and talk about that this next time. Because I know there's a company that helped to coordinate the light show itself, but I don't know if that company had their app put on the car. I think it's part and parcel that you can go into Tesla and it's part of the software in the Tesla. I just don't know how it works. And it's not part of the Roadster, though.
No.
So Super Booty on TikTok says Tesla is also about to roll out the Robo Taxi. That is correct. That's correct. And then Nolver53 on YouTube says, "I think the biggest fear people have about adopting EVs is if our electrical grid can handle the influx of EV charging. It's irrational, but it's there."
Go watch our video on the grid. We did it a year ago. And there's also a really good channel out there, Engineering Explained on YouTube. They did a whole breakdown, and that's where we got a lot of our info from.
I learned something new on that too, Jesse. Just while I was researching for this.
Uh-huh.
Right now, the power lines themselves physically are steel lines that are with wound aluminum wiring.
Mm-hmm.
And when you run electricity through it, it actually heats up the steel and aluminum and causes the lines to sag. So there's only a certain amount of power that you can run through these lines. A new carbon fiber power line with the same type of wrapping around it has been developed, and it doesn't sag nearly as much.
Okay.
And so existing infrastructure could be set up, these new wire, with nothing more than stringing this new high voltage wire on them, and they could run 80% more power on the existing infrastructure. No new towers, no environmental studies, no nothing.
Just an
Wow.
add-on.
That's awesome.
So I am not worried about the infrastructure. TikTok's Super Buddy says, I don't own an electric car. I'm scared of running out of charge.
Unless you drive more than 200 miles a day, every day, you won't ever have to worry about that in a realistic daily use situation.
I want to echo what you say on that, Jesse. For 5 years plus, I owned a Kia Soul electric vehicle. It was my first electric car. It's what got me into it and made me decide that I don't ever want to drive anything else. That Kia Soul had a 90-mile range. And I actually had to go through a couple of batteries because the first battery that I received, when I bought the car, it had had a battery replacement done. The software was not optimized in the car yet. And so within 30,000 miles, I only had like 35 miles of range.
Enough for this in-city use.
I couldn't even get across town one way, and I was running out of range.
Yes.
That was not enough range for me.
Right.
But we got in, we got the battery replaced under warranty, and the follow-up battery we had, when we traded that car in, we had put almost 60,000 miles on the battery. It was a advertised 90-mile range. It had gone from 90 up to almost 108 and was just settling back down to about 93 miles. We never had a problem with any of the commuting driving, any of the in-city driving, anything that we had to do. It was not a car we could take on long trips, but we knew that.
Right.
We had a car for our longer trips. We traded that in on a Volvo XC40 with about 240 miles of range. I've never had a problem driving the Volvo where I thought I was going to run out of charge. Now we did with the Kia a couple of times. We were really close on the Kia, but on the Volvo never did. And with the infrastructure the way it is now, I would drive that Volvo anywhere, anytime. I never have a fear of running out of charge anymore.
I think it just takes time for you to get used to having to charge and the amount it takes and getting used to where the chargers are located.
Yeah.
Because I drove a Model S last year to California. It was my first time driving a Model S out of the city, out of the state. So yeah, I had some range anxiety for sure, but it took a little bit of planning, and I charged more than what I should have. I stopped 3 times on my way to California, but on the way back, I only charged twice because I knew where I needed to go, how much I needed, and no fear.
So, the fear is real. It absolutely is. Yeah, I would say that the fear is largely irrational. It's not. It's the infrastructure that's out there is good enough to take care of things. You do have to change your behavior at least a little bit to make sure that when you go in for the night and you have an electric vehicle, you should have it plugged in so it can be charged in the morning.
Right.
That's the one main behavior change that you really need to think about.
Keep it topped off rather than go empty and then having to sit and wait for the charge.
Exactly. That's the one thing you do is you just let you drive off the top half of your charge, knowing that if you ever need to get to the bottom half of your charge, no big deal. You can do it.
Right.
And so I encourage you, Super Buddy, and anyone, you don't have to be afraid. Plus, the car ranges have gone up tremendously. 200 is kind of a reasonable minimum on car ranges here in the U.S. And 300 is very common to get for a range.
Last week I was running late to work because there's a lot of traffic. My range was low. I pulled off, went into a supercharged for 5 minutes, and got back on the road and was able to get to work on time. So they're out there. They're all over the place.
Yeah, and the superchargers, you probably added 30 miles of range in that
In
5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's going to be it for today, though. We will be back in another 20 minutes or so with the Tesla Roadster Roundtable podcast. Victor has got some great topics for us on that.
Yep.
And one key I wanted to let people know just as we end, your glasses aren't black.
They're not.
They're not black. I'm not going to say exactly what color they are yet. People can probably guess, but you'll see them be a different color on the Tesla Roadster podcast.
True.
So thank you guys so much for taking time with us today. Check with us, and we'll see you in 20 minutes, or we'll talk to you again in a week.
Stay safe.